We'll entertain that.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are adopted. Item number 1 of new business, District 1 Improvement Funds, Councilmember Wilson.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. On this past week, I was invited to the Oakdale Elementary School to be with them for their Red Ribbon Week, and the kids did such an amazing job there. They talked about a very good celebration for Red Ribbon Week, saying no to drugs, and we want to supply that for them for $475.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Item is approved. Item number 2, disbursement from District 3 Improvement Funds, Councilman Crowe.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was approached by Marvin Lucas, who's the vice chair of our city school board, probably a couple of months ago. They're looking at building some concession stands at the 3 high schools. And he and I talked about that, and he had asked me if I would consider helping that with Northridge. And the estimate, Mr. Chairman, came in at $7,375, and I would like to ask for approval to use my District 3 improvement funds that I have to build that for Northridge High School.
Okay, any questions or comments?
So moved.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Disbursement is approved. Ms. Standridge, number 3, professional services contract with PFM, Financial Advisor Services.
Yes, this is authorizing a contract with PFM Financial Advisors, LLC, for a contract in a not-to-exceed amount of $30,000 for financial advisory services, and the amount is budgeted within operations.
Any questions or comments?
Carly, is there a time limit on this contract, or is it, how long do you think?
It's for 1 year.
For 1 year?
So it's an October to an October contract period.
And I believe there's the expectation, this is event-based. It could be ramped up if events pick up and start rolling.
Yes, sir, and we would come back for addendum to the contract if that were to be the case.
Okay.
And this is the, I mean, if memory serves me correct, this is the group that works with the Road Improvement Commission.
It
Is that
does.
right?
That's
So we've got
correct.
good experience with them. So
Yes.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Professional service contract is improved. Next, we've got 2 incentive proposals for presentation today. Item number 4, Project Gilmore. Mr. Turner, you're up. How are you?
Great.
Welcome.
Can I stand?
You can stand up there.
Okay. Sure, thanks. Good afternoon. Thanks for having us. My name is Andy Turner. This is Megan Sproul. She was the Ryan Tax Advisors. She handles all the hard questions. I handle the easy stuff. So Project Gilmore, we've been working on this for quite some time. Probably the most exciting project I've been a part of in my career. So this gives you a site map of where we're talking about, just to make sure everybody really understands, because there's been a lot of changes in this area. So this map is showing a larger view of the North River area, the neighborhood, the golf course. Many of you remember about last year, we purchased the marina from North River Yacht Club. And so we, as a private investment group, have bought that. We are redeveloping that. If you go down, you'll see the new docks going in. We broke ground on the marina store last week, which should be open in March. Also part of that is the Hill House condominium project that we are pre-selling right now and are expecting to hopefully break ground in January on that project. So those are in the yellow and the red at the top. This project is also a private development that we acquired, the Jack Warner Inn, which has been there for since 1981. We also purchased the Anchorage building, which previously served as the museum at the property. And so we, those are the properties that we're talking about for this project specifically are in the blue area on the map here. This is all a completely separate entity from North River Yacht Club, which is owned by Troon, and that's the golf course and what most people think of in this area. Let's see. So this just shows what the current property's condition is. The Jack Warner Inn is a 56-key hotel that's not operational at this time. Anchorage building, 11,000 square foot building that's been vacant since they closed the museum. And then you can see what the marina used to look like that we purchased and have been redeveloping. Interior and exterior photos. So the current revenue on this combined property to the is a total of $41,489 a year. So basically just the property tax is all that it's generating currently. Kind of showing what we are proposing. We have traveled to numerous kind of specialty boutique hotel resort concepts in the Southeast. So High Hampton, which is in North Carolina, the Swag, also in North Carolina, Blackberry Farms in Tennessee, Palmetto Bluff in South Carolina. Those have kind of served as the inspiration for the design and layout of the properties, but also the service levels that we are seeking to achieve here to really create a national resort destination. We're already on the national map because of the University of Alabama, and this just adds to the experience economy that we can have here in Tuscaloosa and draw people here outside of football season. So when you first talk about a hotel, the first thing people talk about is, oh, you're going to get crazy rates on football season. Well, that's a very small part of the year, and everybody knows we can be full on those weekends. We're really trying to build a product that is going to draw year-round people to Tuscaloosa to come to have an experience. And the combination of this with what we're doing at the lakefront and giving people the access to that creates a really unique destination. All the consultants we've had involved with this have said, we haven't seen a hotel project that combines as many amenities in one place as this project will. So when we're done with this, we will have a total of approximately 116 keys. It's going to depend on the number of cabins. So we'll be doing a combination of renovating the existing hotel structure, adding new cabins, adding a spa and fitness area, and then transforming the old museum into the lobby, special event space. It will have a fine dining restaurant overlooking the lake, adding a pool deck with a poolside restaurant component as well. Kind of design intent for the project. You can kind of see some of the inspiration photos that our architects are actually implementing into our design right now. This is just showing you kind of the new floor plan of the Jack with the event space, hotel space, and kind of the lobby, and then the overlook out towards the lake and the pool area. Typical cabins, we're in the design phase on those. This is kind of the initial concept on those, and we're continuing to flesh those out. There'll be single cabins, but then we will also, and I don't think I have in this presentation, have some like the dog trot style that was the original cabin on the site. Some of the changes to the elevations of the hotel, adding French doors and balconies to all the rooms to take advantage of the beauty of the outside, a number of aesthetic changes there.
So Andy, before you go in, as you go from the 56 keys to the 116, is that all that's going to be primarily through the addition of cabins?
Correct.
You're not building another floor,
We are
all
not.
in the same area that the current?
It's all in that same. Let me
Okay.
go back to that
All right, thank you.
slide. So yes, so what we're doing, so went through the years of different ownerships of the inn, various things have happened, and they've tried to appeal to different client bases. So they would take a room and make it into a fitness center. They would take a room and make it into a business center, put some offices in. So what we're going to be able to do is convert it back to its original footprint. And so inside the actual lodge, existing lodge, we'll have 66 keys, and then the rest will be in cabins. But we're not adding anything to that building.
Okay, thank you.
Sir. Let's see.
You were just getting to the good stuff.
Good stuff.
I saw a bunch of numbers up there.
Numbers. That's what y'all are all about in the finance committee. Numbers. So, fiscal impact to the city. This is a very significant project. In total, we're investing almost $57 million. I believe is our total investment in this project. The impact to the city, which is what we're here about, and I just put a red ribbon on it because I like simple. Each year, we're anticipating a little over $1.7 million in annual revenue increase to the city. This is net of the tax abatements, so that's after tax abatements have been paid. Project life revenue, $44.5 million. You can see the various areas where that comes from: the sales and use tax, real property tax, lodging tax, revenues, utility revenues. So you can kind of see how those play out over the life of it.
So can you
go
back
back.
up right to, let's come back to it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Andy, your point though, you just said these expected numbers are after any abatement.
Correct.
Or if the abatement was granted that you've asked for.
Yes. So these numbers are showing, after.
That's net of that.
That's net of that. That's correct. So what we're requesting to, it's one of the, probably in my career, probably one of the most challenging times to be doing commercial real estate deals. But this is at such a specialty product. We've had lots of interest in it. And so what we're looking at is approximately $8 million in incentives. These are just tax abatements. It doesn't cost the city anything. So this is from new revenue generated from the project. We are requesting a 7-year lodging tax rebate. It's a partial rebate. It's staged through the different years of it. And then a direct jobs grant for 75 jobs and a waiver of the building permit and impact fees. So what that looks like, we would begin the lodging tax rebate in 2028, which is after the Embassy and Indigo roll off. And the first year it would be a 65% rebate. Years 2 through 3, 70%, and then 4 through 7, 75%. And to kind of bridge that gap from when we anticipate opening in 25 to when this structure would come into effect, Carly and her team and Megan's team worked through and utilizing a direct jobs grant. So that would be about 1.125 over those first 3 years for the 75 jobs.
So before there would be any type of lodging tax rebate, we should have 3 years of
revenue
from the hotel and resort being open.
That's correct.
When do you plan to open? If it
25.
Our target is 25.
so 3 years of operations
Yep.
and a job grant. What's a job grant?
I'll let the expert answer that.
It would be $5,000 per employee, 75 employees, payable over years 1, 2, and 3.
Wait, please step up to the microphone.
Thank you. So it would be $5,000 per employee for 75 employees, years 1, 2, and 3. And what that would look like is a post-performance grant. So jobs would be created, certify that the jobs are created, and then you would pay that out. It's something we worked a little bit with Carly on identifying as a way to help the project get some funding prior to the abatement coming into effect.
We would pay it out to the project or the employees?
To the project, so it would be money for spaces.
And that's yet to be, that can be done in negotiations, post. We have a similar structure in some of the Mercedes job grants and supplier job grants that we have. If
Is there any difference to us in naming it as a grant as opposed to just money?
it would just be it would be an incentive that we would be paying to them, an incentive, part of the agreement. They're calling it a grant because
Okay.
no, there's no distinction.
Okay.
There is a performance requirement, maybe if you want to call it that, for a grant.
And that performance takes the form of amount of time that you stay with the company?
Correct. It's something negotiated. So we would work with Carly on what that performance would look like in
Okay.
order to determine payable.
Okay. Go ahead, Andy. Thank you.
Yeah, the idea is we're creating those 75 new jobs to bring into
I got
here.
a question.
Yes.
So, 3 years worth of revenue that we'll get before we start paying incentives, what happens if you don't hit the target date?
That's why I was
You
asking.
be
So
on 26. and just make
as
that
we
real.
look at that, we
Right.
would craft that.
Yeah, I
to
think that's
be
part of the
opening
structure.
Plus X.
Right.
And that's probably the better way to state it is opening date 3 years, then do it that way. Because that's the intention. Yeah,
Go ahead.
good question.
Good question, Cash.
Yeah. Comparative benefits, so how does this relate to previous projects where the lodging tax has been utilized? You can see that we kind of fall right there around the average of where those have been based on dollars investment versus economic support for a project. This will be the largest project that's been done to date for a hotel project.
Back up one, Andy.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. The Almine, okay, there it is, 30. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. These go through a lot of the, so we have a full economic data study that we had done like I didn't make these numbers up. We had a company that came in, did the analysis, put it all together. So this kind of gives you some of the additional breakdowns of what the benefits are outside of just what we showed to the city. So it's anticipated that visitors coming to this are going to spend, there's 10.3 million in lodging at the hotel, but 2.1 million in boat slips, watercraft rentals, and other activities, because we're creating kind of those activities down at the marina area for people to be able to participate in that don't exist today. Spending at restaurants, grocery and retail store spending, and there's a lot of other numbers. We just highlighted a few. Like I said, we believe this creates national excitement around Lake Tuscaloosa. These places that we're benchmarking off of, most of them are very difficult to get to, but because of the level of service and amenities that they've provided, they've become a destination place. We have a great city that already attracts people. This just gives one more reason to bring another type of person to Tuscaloosa. And so we really think this creates some excitement for a new type of product that doesn't exist today in Tuscaloosa, and highlights one of our key assets for our city that right now is not highlighted. I'm surprised at how many people don't even know we have a lake a lot of times that I talk to. We're going to be utilizing Tuscaloosa builds. Our team already, we already use mostly all local subs. We just did a project in Starkville and used most all of our subs from Tuscaloosa in Starkville on that project. So we'll continue with that. And we've already said it increases your budget by $1.7 million a year. I already talked about tourism outside of downtown. We have a great downtown with lots to do here. This gives one more reason for people to come to Tuscaloosa and enjoy our beautiful city. Yeah, those are pretty self-explanatory. It also, one of the things I haven't talked about, we've focused on the impact to the city, but this also has a huge economic impact on the state, the county, and city schools as well. So there's significant tax revenues generated for each of those in addition to what's going to the city. And this is all from new revenues. So that's everything I
Thanks.
had. Open for questions.
No, succinct, on target. I've got a couple of questions, but first it was on target and hit the big points. Back up, if you would, to let's see. Nope. Go back. There we go. So, what kind of? I could back into it from some of those numbers, but in terms of revenue for the total operation, walk me through what y'all think that picture looks like during the build-up to a leveling off.
So what we're expecting is, based on the studies that we've had done, we anticipate first-year occupancy to run around 50. I think we're at 58% occupancy first year. We show maxing out at a 68% occupancy in all of our numbers. So this isn't a pie-in-the-sky number that we're utilizing for our, and we feel like we have a very conservative ADR for this type of project. So we're projecting a $315 a night ADR, which sounds high but for this type of project. So if you were to go to Purcell Farms in Sylacauga, Alabama, which takes a lot of effort to get there, they're at $549 a night at their location. So we believe we've performed very conservatively. I believe we're going to be probably closer to the Purcell Farms numbers than where we are showing, but
So in terms of occupancy, the goal is, I think 58% right now is the average for Tuscaloosa, but that's a mixed bag, okay? That's Days Inn, Alamite, Embassy Suites, and Motel 8.
Right.
So y'all are looking at 58% growing up to 68%, ADR of 315-ish, you said. Of those, essentially you've got 3 revenue centers, right? You've got your lodging,
Correct.
your, what do you call the old Sonat building, your
So that's going to be
your
the
event space,
fine dining and event space.
restaurant, and then your marina, right?
Right.
And just real ballpark, Andy, what does kind of the pie chart look like of what those are contributing to the total proportionately
Correct.
in revenue?
So, I mean, the lodging is the biggest piece of that,
That's-
of course.
Okay, that's the
and-
star of the show.
Yeah, that's the star of the show.
Okay.
Restaurant, so the way that hospitality world does this, they kind of combine your special events. They call it. They put it under catering and front of house restaurant space. That's probably going to. I mean, I would put the lodging piece at about 60%. The other at about 40% is where it is. And we're show. The marina is
The marina is separate.
it's separate, and that some of the things that we're doing down there that I think are pretty exciting, create new opportunities for people to experience the lake. So there will be a component of people who are staying there that will have the opportunity to rent a boat down there. We're going to have paddle boards and kayaks for rent. You'll have the ability to rent a cabana right there on the lawn, looking at the lake and enjoy the lake views there. So we're creating those additional opportunities as well that brings more revenue into the city. And that's one of the things you'll notice. I mean, we're not asking for any sales or use tax abatements or any of those other items on this. And this will generate a significant amount of new sales tax as well.
Gentlemen, any other questions either from the Finance Committee members or other members?
Mr. Chairman, what is your expected path forward with consideration for this?
What today is just what took place, presentation. I think we'll then socialize that amongst ourselves and back with our districts. And then if a council member would like to bring it up for a vote to move over to the staff for negotiations, we'll put that on an agenda at the written request of a council member. Obviously, the mayor and the staff can do the same thing. If they would like it on the agenda for a vote to move over for negotiations, they can propose that also. That's what I would expect. Is that?
Mr. Chairman, I'll say,
Sure.
I give Mr. Turner and his team a lot of credit. They have worked extremely hard in getting to this moment. And
Very much so.
Thanks.
it's a pretty bold vision.
Yeah.
And it's unique, something I haven't seen. It's not your run-of-the-mill type of request. It's unique, it's distinctive, and I think that's something for all of us to consider.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank
Good
you.
to-
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
Next up, item number 5, discussion of RJ Development Incentive Proposal. Mr. McCoy, welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, council members, committee members, mayor. I am not Mr. McCoy, though. I am James Hill, so I apologize for the change there. I represent RJ Developments.
Who is Mr. McCoy?
He is one of our associates, and he is with us, but he is not with us today.
Okay.
So I apologize for that change of plans. But I am James Hill, and before I get started, I do want to say we've been up here a few times and had the opportunity to work with some of the staff members in the city of Tuscaloosa and meet a couple of the council members. And we appreciate the hospitality we've been shown. Ms. Moore has been tremendous working with us to get us to this particular point. So we appreciate that. And we appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to y'all this afternoon about this particular development that we're very excited about. Again, my name is James Hill, and I represent RJ Developments. I actually represent the St. Clair County and some of the municipalities in St. Clair County and the Economic Development Council of St. Clair County, which is sort of my foray into economic development. I represent RJ Developments with and some other developers around the state in these types of projects. That's sort of what I do for a living. I want us to walk through this presentation together. Obviously, my clients, particularly Bryce Johnston, who is here with me, and Will Rourke, have been in the development business for some period of time. They've been involved through RJ Developments or other similar entities with regard to the various clients and products that you see there on the right: Publix products, Starbucks, Walgreens, Chick-fil-A. Here, clearly, we're talking about a Starbucks product that we're looking to bring to 15th Street at the T-Town Tires. Mr. Chairman, I do apologize about the substandard coffee that you're being required to drink here this afternoon, and we will not make that mistake again.
Appreciate
Yes, sir. So that's who we are. This is a project, like I said, that we've been working on for some period of time, and this is just some basic information about the project. We've got a few challenges related to the project that we are mentioned up here. One of those being some environmental contamination from a previous tenant on that site. So these are some of the things that we'll be working through as we seek to bring this project to fruition. We expect to create over 20 jobs, good jobs, quality jobs for Tuscaloosa citizens, and obviously increase the revenue impact for the city of Tuscaloosa in this particular project. These are the existing conditions. I'm sure y'all are familiar with this area and this particular location. So we have under contract this property, and in this process, obviously, would have to raise this building and reconstruct our Starbucks project. This is some of the look at some of the environmental condition challenges that we're going to have to address to the extent we're able to move forward with this project, which obviously necessitates the city of Tuscaloosa's assistance therewith. This is a site plan for the particular product, the Starbucks product that we would be looking to bring to Tuscaloosa. You can see it's that drive-through product on and or around the building, 1,275 square foot floor plan. That's the site plan there. You can see it overlaid as it relates to the location of that street that accesses 15th Street. So the access, ingress, and egress is not directly off of 15th Street, which I think is something that's of great value to the city and to this particular product. Here's sort of our timeline, where we are and where we would like to see this moving forward. Obviously, we'd like to open July of 2025. We've got a significant distance between now and then because we've got some significant due diligence and, again, that environmental issue that we're going to have to work through before we're able to commence construction and get this project up and running. Now, we've spoken about, we have been advised of the Invest Tuscaloosa concept. There's a handful of areas that I think are applicable to our particular project. Clearly, the job creations, the increase in revenues for the city, the environmental contamination issue, and in particular, there's the product that we're going to put on the ground we think addresses what is some existing blight in the city in that particular area. And we think the product that we will put on the ground is far superior from an aesthetic perspective and for mitigating and remediating this particular area that needs some freshening up at this point in time. This is some revenue numbers. You'll notice, I don't know if there's a pointer on this, but you'll notice that we have estimated new sales tax revenue in year one of $2 million, and that'll create taxes in the $60,000 range. And that's going to be important. That's a very conservative number. And when we get to the point in time that we're speaking about the investment or the incentive that we need.
1 second.
Yes, sir.
That's new sales tax revenue,
Yes, sir.
new revenue on which sales tax is assessed?
Yes, sir.
Which one?
It'll be your 3% municipal sales
So
tax.
it's 60,000 tax revenue?
Yes, sir. $2 million in gross annual sales, $60,000 in tax revenue to the city on the year one annual basis. And you can see we anticipate this growing not insignificantly over the period of time. What I'll say, though, is somewhat, I guess, of a teaser when we get to this point in the presentation is our request from the city is 50% of the sales taxes generated capped at 10 years and capped at $625,000. In order to achieve that amount of tax revenue, the store would have to produce over $4.1 million. So we'll get into that here in a moment when I hand out the pro forma that we're looking at. But you can see from the values that we're discussing that this particular incentive is really fairly modest in its nature in totality. But again, you can recognize the distinction between the current existing revenues with the current use of the tire store and what we anticipate just year one as it relates to our new Starbucks product. Obviously, ad valorem taxes will be increased when we put the new product on the ground. We're not asking for any abatement of real estate taxes, and certainly real estate taxes are how we fund a variety of things, including but not limited to the school system in the city of Tuscaloosa, which, if it's like the school system in St. Clair County, certainly needs all the funding that it can possibly get.
You would have to ask the gentleman over there in the corner. He's the superintendent of the city school system.
I'm willing to stand corrected, Mr. Superintendent. If I
No,
may
that's
correct.
why he's waiting for you to finish.
So again, this is Will Rourke and Bryce Johnston, our development team, and that's the totality of our presentation. But if I could, Mr. Chairman, if you don't have any questions at this time, I'd like to pass out a pro forma. This is the way we like to approach these projects, recognizing that certainly the city has to be in a better position at the conclusion of this product, and y'all recognizing that the developer is looking to invest in the city, and we want to provide you with a pro forma to dig into the dollars that we expect from a return perspective. If I may, I'll
Sure.
You, Chris?
No, sir, I'm James Hill.
Okay. I kept trying to, who did I speak with on the phone?
Probably Chris McCoy.
Chris McCoy.
Yes, sir.
These numbers weren't included in our presentation, as we certainly consider these proprietary in nature, but I'd like for you to look. Obviously, those hard costs up at the top are fairly well established as it relates to the cost of the land purchasing and the tenant improvement allowance. The building and site work cost based on our experience provided building these projects in other parts around the state. They actually just finished one up in the city of Moody that I represent. The soft costs that you see down below, and again, I'm happy for us to look at any of those individually, but reviewing these in totality, the figures that they are providing, I would say, are remarkably conservative in nature.
What's the acreage? Out of curiosity, I was looking at your land cost, and I won't say it since it's proprietary. Huh?
0.44.
0.48 maybe.
Not even a half acre?
Not even half an acre.
acre.
Yes.
It's an amazing price for that, but it is what it is.
Sure you're not confusing us with Buckhead, or?
Not usually. With the gas station.
Right.
I have one question that sort of is location based. Why there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Why there?
Why there?
This is the direction we were given by the powers that be in the real estate department at Starbucks, and the real estate representative the office based out of Atlanta. They have an existing storage, on 15th Street that's got some, frankly, some overflow problems, and their sales are very strong, but they do have some traffic issues they want to remedy. It's as much a safety concern as it is an opportunity for them.
And would you be? I can't remember if you're traveling east to west. Is there a way to left turn in there?
There is.
There is.
Yes, sir.
So would the other location go away?
It would not.
It would not, it's gonna stay there.
That's correct.
And then you've got. What are the other Starbucks locations?
There's the new one that just opened on University recently, or not University, excuse me, over there by the Arby's. That is University, yeah. Yeah. And then you've got the one sort of in the heart of campus down there as well. Yeah, by Tutwiler, right.
Okay, and then Skyland.
Skyline, yeah. And Skyline, yeah, with the big sign on Skyline, right.
So do you have an average distance that you all build them in proximity to each other?
Generally, it depends on the market.
Yeah.
You know, in a high-density area like Tuscaloosa with the traffic volumes that it has,
Yeah.
they can get closer together, and especially with the, you know, sort of the student dollars that are
That's what I was wondering.
moved through Tuscaloosa. They see that as an opportunity and a high priority area for Starbucks generally, and one of their highest priorities, even nationwide, believe it or not.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
One other item to add about the other location that's by the CVS is that they look at this as a new market. They're not looking at this as a relief store for this other one. They feel there's a gap in this market that they need to serve, even with the existing store there.
Gentlemen, any other questions, comments?
The
From
only,
either committee members?
the only other thing that I mentioned, Mr. Chairman, and certainly if you have any questions about the pro forma, I'm happy for us to consider those. The total ROI as it relates to this project at the bottom, as you see, without city assistance, is only 5.7%. You know, Bryce alluded to the fact that Starbucks, you asked why this location, Starbucks sort of drives these decisions. Starbucks recognizes that we're going to have to come and have this conversation with y'all because their rental prices almost dictate this type of conversation with the municipality. The request of city assistance isn't a request from Starbucks. It's a request from RJ Development in order to make the math, the investment numbers work. And if you'll notice the investment numbers that even if they were to receive a full incentive as capped on this page, which like I mentioned is unlikely, would create a return on investment of merely 7% for the developer based on what we believe to be a pretty conservative pro forma with a lot of fixed cost already dropped therein. So I hope that pro forma illustrates my client's not coming to Tuscaloosa to try to bring in a 12% return on investment and seek to do something that would be unsavory. We want it to be transparent with regard to this committee and the council, and certainly with anyone as it relates to what we're here doing and how we hope to accomplish it.
All right. Gentlemen, any other questions, comments?
Do you have anything broken down on here of what the sort of required ordinances right-of-way costs would be, or did you get that number?
We're going to use the existing sidewalk, Mayor, and as far as the right-of-way work, there shouldn't be much right-of-way work at all.
So you got sidewalks, you've got
We're
any lighting requirements or landscaping requirements by the city?
just the minimum requirements that we would meet by city standards that would be at our cost, but no requirements on the city, if that answers your question.
On the right.
Right.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much for coming in.
Hey, thank you for your time. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, what is our path forward on consideration?
The
of this
same as
item?
we talked about with the Project Gilmore. That is, we'll now take this presentation, socialize it amongst ourselves and back in our districts. And if a council member wants to bring a proposal to the agenda to start negotiations, we'll entertain that. If the mayor's staff wants to do the same, we'll entertain that as well. All right, any?
Fair. Sounds good.
So our next item, and Dr. Derry, I know you've got your crew in here. I saw you and Jay and several board members. We appreciate you coming. You want to come up and give us a 30-second, and then we're gonna kind of read into the record the board resolution that provides the impetus for this requested action.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having us again today. As we've had several discussions in our past, our school system has done an analysis to sustain our current progress and enhance our current progress in 3 key areas: safe schools, best teachers for all of our students, and rigorous experiences for all of our students. Since our last meeting, you had some questions, and Mr. Duke provides some supplemental materials to address some of those. The Board of Education has a resolution for your consideration for an election, a municipal election, tentatively asking for August 27 of 2024 for the citizens of our community to decide for an increase of up to an 11.5 mils dedicated to the Tuscaloosa City Schools. 30 seconds.
Not bad at all for 30 seconds. Ms. Johnson, would you do us the favor of reading into the record the board resolution letter?
All right, so be it resolved by the Tuscaloosa City Board of Education, the board in the state of Alabama as follows. As it does periodically, the board has recently studied the long-term priorities for Tuscaloosa City Schools and engaged the financial resources available to address those priorities. To assist in these planning efforts, the board also gathered community input on desired TCS priorities, including by holding a series of district-by-district meetings to collect employee and community feedback on current funding levels and desired staffing and programming priorities. The board, through its own analysis and informed by input from the district meetings, has identified 3 areas for increased emphasis within TCS. 1, educator excellence. 2, student services and programs. And 3, school safety and security. The board created an advisory task force, the task force, composed of various community stakeholders to provide independent review of the priority areas identified by the board. At the board's October 3rd, 2023 meeting, task force members presented a report confirming the 3 strategic priorities identified by the board and the underlying methodology used to reach the same. Upon review of these priorities, the chief school financial officer reported that continuation of existing programs and implementation of the identified priority areas will require additional ad valorem millage of up to 11.5 mils, the additional school millage. The board has carefully considered the information described above and desires to be proactive in taking steps necessary to secure adequate funding for the future of TCS. And as the board lacks taxing authority under Alabama law, any such additional school millage will require, among other steps, action by the city council and majority approval at a referendum held on the subject. The board hereby finds and declares, in light of the foregoing, the additional school millage is necessary and desirable and in the public interest, and further hereby requests that the Tuscaloosa City Council assist the board by taking the steps necessary under Section 217F of the Constitution of Alabama of 2022 to allow the qualified electors in the city of Tuscaloosa to vote on the proposed additional school millage. Any additional school millage approved by the voters will increase the rate of the 13.5 mil tax presently levied by the city on the property situated in the city, and the net proceeds of said increase will in each year be paid over to the board and used solely for public school purposes in the city.
Okay, thank you very much. That's the most we hear Brandy talk in many months. So, Dr. Derry, this request is brought to the city council to approve the allowing a vote by the voters on the proposed property tax millage increase.
That is correct, yes, sir.
I think, Mr. Holmes, would you step up there with him? Because in what Ms. Johnson just read, it mentions this action among other steps necessary. Would you outline for us and for those listening what the sequence of the process would be, both in allowing this vote to happen and in implementing it if it's approved?
So, and I will take the 40,000
Yes, please.
foot view of this. What is coming around to you are draft public notices and draft resolutions that have been prepared by the attorneys for the school board and provided. This is what they are requesting. And so what is required under the Constitution, I think it is Section 217, now as it's been recompiled, is that 3 things have to happen. The governing body of the district, which would be the city council, has to pass a resolution calling for an election or requesting the state legislature allow for an election. The state legislature has to pass legislation allowing for this special election, and then the voters of the district have to approve the tax increase at the special election.
Okay. So this first step would be for city council to vote on, is this our resolution?
This is the resolution that's been drafted by their attorneys. We wanted to get some guidance today from the body and also from the school system. Moving forward with this, there's, as y'all know, there's always the timing dance, right? So if we're gonna have a public hearing, well, we need to know when we're gonna have that public hearing. We need to know when we're gonna have that public hearing with enough advance notice that we can publicize that. We need to know when there's gonna be a vote and kind of what those parameters are. Ultimately, they're gonna want to get, I don't know if it's a local bill or if it's a state bill. My guess is it's a local bill. And so the legislature, before they can consider that act, they're gonna have to publish that local legislation once a week for 4 consecutive weeks. So the session of the legislature coming up in 24 starts on February 6th. So I would assume they want to have that kind of before the legislature, before they really start rocking and rolling, which would mean probably needing to get out of this body before the end of December. Would my guess be their preference?
All right.
Because you're only about 10 months from the election, if it's August, right?
Yes, sir, correct.
So in plain language, Mr. Holmes, we're being asked to do what?
You're being.
I haven't seen this prior to just now, right?
Sure. No, sir. Not to my knowledge. I got it either early this week or late last week. You're being asked to call for a special election to raise the property tax, the portion of the property tax that would be dedicated toward education to the Tuscaloosa City Schools. Once you do that, the legislature also has to do that. Then the special election can be held to allow the citizens to decide.
Is there a required public hearing on this?
There is required to be a public hearing on this, I believe. Some of what we've gone back and forth on is some of the requirements in there in the notice. You'll see that I think it calls for 2 consecutive notices. I don't think the law is clear on that. Obviously, we'll work with them. I think it's been referenced by their attorneys, a belt and suspenders approach, which I'm fine with. Ultimately, we don't want ambiguity in that portion of the Constitution to lead to something being challenged after you go through and spend the expense for an election or go through all the effort and debate on it.
Mr. Holmes.
Go ahead.
Section 2B, where it says, the board has requested that the city take the necessary steps to increase the rate. Are we giving the people the opportunity to increase the rate?
I think that's what stuck in my mind when I
Yeah.
read through this.
That's why, do we have clarification on that?
The way this
in the
reads, it
notice.
sounds like the city
Yes.
is increasing the rate.
Yes, sir. So the city would have to make this request without this body's request to do this. This
Request
process
to
does.
allow a vote.
Yes.
Where it reads to increase the rate.
Yes, sir. The vote is to increase the rate of taxes.
So,
I think
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead.
Mr. Holmes, so I mean, we're just allowing the people the opportunity to vote. And by agreeing to the election.
Yes.
We're not saying that the city council is passing.
The city council.
We're just allowing
The city council
election to
has,
held.
for this to happen, the city council has to pass the property increase. The property increase can't happen until the citizens vote on it. Both things have to happen. But if there's no vote of the council, there's no referendum and the process dies. I don't know if I'm.
Go.
Go ahead, Ms. Pruitt.
I was gonna say, so what we know versus what the verbiage is, how does that make our constituents understand this? Like Mr. President Tyler just said, so this is what we're doing. Then on this section 2 findings, B, it appears that the verbiage is different from what we are saying.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So how does that make sense for those who will read this going forward?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I follow what you're saying, Mr. Wilson.
You say you don't follow what I'm saying?
No, sir.
You're afraid that it's gonna look like we're passing this
Right,
so that we can have more tax.
right. That's what it is.
If we get the language cleaned up.
Yeah.
There's no objection though to
No.
us doing
There's no objection to
No.
allowing a vote by the
No.
voters. I think, as Mr. Crowe just pointed out, Section 3 says
It says we
council
propose to increase the rate.
to
at least the
increase
city.
the rate, and that's not,
Yes, sir. And my office hasn't produced or edited this in any way.
okay, so this is not what we're voting on.
No, sir. No, sir. What if
We're voting
council
on this.
wants to move forward on this? We will
Okay.
work on a resolution with their attorneys that's acceptable for both sides.
Okay.
This is the
We're
draft.
voting
that
on,
they've
we're
sent.
voting on this.
Yeah.
No, sir. They voted on that.
What Brandy just read into the record.
How about this? This is absolutely one of those issues that needs to go before the full council. This is not something to live or die in committee. I will make a motion that this action be forwarded to full council for consideration. Will
Second.
that suffice?
So
What are you?
I think what
We need to pass this probably.
I don't think
That's
you
what
need to
Brandy
touch.
just read.
I don't think you need to touch the resolution. What Brandy read is what the.
Is what we're voting. We would need to vote on.
No, sir. It's what they voted.
No, that's what they voted.
But they're asking.
That's
us
you request. That's them requesting y'all.
to call for a vote, which is fine.
The first step would be to do a resolution, and that you could do it next week in the full council to set a public hearing. There'd be a public hearing, and then there'd be a vote on whatever resolution y'all vote on after that.
After the public hearing.
After the public hearing.
So the first necessary step is to vote to allow a public hearing.
Yes, sir. To set the date for the public hearing.
And
And
do
if-
we have a proposed date?
I believe December 5th was the last I've heard. I know that those dates have moved around a bit.
Scott, are you far enough along to determine whether we need one or two public hearing days?
So by law, what we would be required to do would be if let's say on December 7th, that, which is our next council meeting. Sorry, it didn't sound like the next council meeting. November, sorry. Y'all vote on a resolution setting a public hearing for December 5th. You could have a public hearing on December 5th and then vote on that item on December 5th, which is what we do. Think of an alcohol license. We have a public hearing and then we vote on it. If you wanted to set two public hearings before you voted, or set the public hearing on the 5th and then do the vote on the 12th, this body can do that. You're not required to do that, but you have the ability and the discretion to do that.
So the only thing necessary today is for us to forward to full council a consideration of an action to set a public hearing for consideration of allowing a voter referendum.
Yes, sir.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Item is approved. Is there any other business to be brought before the Finance Committee today? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.